Hello, my name is Jerry Wise. I'm the director of the Center for Self-Differentiation at Family Tree Counseling Associates in Indianapolis, Indiana, or on the north side. It's Carmel, Indiana, is the suburb in town. I work with clients in my office and via the internet and online. And this video is entitled The Power of Intentional Disappointment and Staying Self-Differentiated. I do self-differentiation and relationship coaching with people who often ask me for tips and helps with their work and their work on self-differentiation. A few of my videos explain some ways and tools we can use to remain unself-differentiated, to remain self-differentiated. I do self-differentiation and relationships coaching, and people often ask me for tips and helps with their work of self-differentiation. A few of my videos explain some ways and tools we can use to remain self-differentiated with our family of origin and with others, to avoid triangles, to avoid enmeshment. This video is about how the family systems tool of intentional disappointment, also referred to as a reversal, can help you in remaining not caught up in other relationships around you. Let me give you an example. A daughter recently was talking to me about her mother, and her mother is enmeshed and needy and uses guilt and shame for her daughter to worry about her, to care about her, to stay focused on her. The mother is child-focused. And by the way, the daughter is an adult. She's in her 30s. The mother is child-focused, and the daughter has been parent-focused for years. And I do mean hyper-focused. Neither have learned to focus on themselves. And that's what the work of self-differentiation does. The mother says, well, why don't you call me every day like lots of other children do? Or like Maria's daughter does. I don't think you ever think about me and my problems. Why can't I have a daughter who cares about her mother? In the past, the daughter would have argued with her mother while remaining defensive, both of them being defensive, and the daughter struggling with guilt and shame from her mother, which then lowers her self-esteem or taps her into her low self-esteem. But Mom, I do care about you. I call you other day, and I think about you all the time. But inside, the daughter is thinking, but I don't really like calling you because you just complain and whine about your life and criticize me for many things, and especially for not being married and having children. She concludes that she hates hearing the phone ring now, fearing it will be her mother. Every time the phone rings, she has a startle response, and she has a well of anxiety that comes up for her. Very accomplished daughter, very professional, but still has mother issues. And no matter how much I do, it won't be enough. She feels caught between the guilt and neediness and her own desiring of her parents' acceptance and approval. So what is happening? Mom needs the enmeshment she has had with her daughter throughout her life. Unconsciously, or maybe consciously, I don't know, Mom needs to keep her daughter feeling guilty and controlled by guilt and shame about how much she pays attention to her. And she is either rejecting or withholds her love when her daughter misbehaves, and gives it when her daughter does do what she wants and behaves. She needs to keep her daughter close, over close, because she does not have much of a life of her own, and she does not have much of a self of her own. The daughter has always dreamed about having a mother's approval and acceptance, and keeps hoping one day, if she behaves well enough, Mom will give her approval. All of this keeps them enmeshed. Self-differentiation is the process of gaining space within a relationship while staying connected. It's gaining emotional space, not necessarily physical or logistical space. When mom comes to daughter and talks about she is not living up to mom's expectations for love, which also equals enmeshment. In other words, if you will remain enmeshed with me, then I'll feel loved by you, daughter. The daughter feels the pull, like a tractor beam, into the relationship, pulling them together. Self-differentiation is choosing to be yourself while staying connected and not cutting off. So what can the daughter do with her mother? Get mad and say, well, if you ask me to call you one more time, I will scream. Or say, I'm tired of having a mother who has to have her daughter call her every day. Or I'm tired about worrying about you all the time. Or the daughter says, Mom, I'll never have a life of my own if I don't focus on me and stop focusing on you. How am I ever going to get married and have children if I do that? These are often not good solutions, as most of you probably listening know and maybe have tried those things. Why? Because it presents a cutoff over getting emotional distance, which just equals more enmeshment. Cutoff and fusion come out of over closeness. Over distance and enmeshment have at their roots over closeness. Swinging from one side of the pendulum to the other does not provide freedom, maturity, or self-differentiation. Or the old saying is 180 degrees from sick is still sick. If you have 180 degrees here and go all the way over to the other 180 degrees, or go 180 degrees, you're sick over here just as well as you're sick over here. So the goal is to be at 90 degrees. That's where health resides. So what can we do to stay at the 90-degree mark and not either have the daughter enmesh or infuse with her, or fuse with her mom, or cut off in an angry cutoff, trying to get away, but not gaining it inside? Well, we call it a reversal or intentional disappointment. This is one of the tools we can use. At the end, I'll talk about other tools that I have described in other videos. Another way to describe this interaction is what I and others have called pushing the symptoms. That's kind of another phrase you can use for this type of tool. Again, a reversal is a deliberate disappointment. It is a deliberate disappointment within a relationship. It must be deliberate, and not reactive. It must be a disappointment, and it must happen within a relationship. So there must be connectedness, there must be a willingness to disappoint, and it must be deliberate or chosen, not just neurotic or automatic. Richard Armstrong states that a reversal or intentional disappointment must be in the must be in sharp contrast with the projected expectations within the emotional field between people. Again, a reversal must be in sharp contrast with the expected expectations within the emotional field between people. It's like changing the channel within a relationship or shifting the current in the electricity within the relationship. Let me give you a couple examples. My mother is upset that I am a disappointment because I do not visit often enough, don't call her often enough. She says, Betty's son always has time for her. I don't know why you don't visit or call me more often. I learned to say, well, Betty is lucky to have a good son like Rick. It would take me years to learn how to be that good of a son. And that's a reversal. I'm taking the disappointment or one down position. I'm not going to argue with you and try to prove that I am a good son. I'm just going to accept the disappointment and realize that it doesn't matter. A couple comes into my office and the husband states, "You're the worst professional in the world. My wife told me you said I was manipulative," which, by the way, I did not say. and was not said in any context, but the wife said I said it. So he was very upset, thinking I had done it. I learned to say, well, you're probably right. I make many, many mistakes. Can we discuss what made you come to this conclusion? And again, the thing is, he's expecting me to be defensive and to argue and to defend myself. And I'm deliberately choosing to disappoint him by not defending myself. And that disappointment keeps me out of the enmeshment. It keeps me out of being caught and feeling caught. My son, when he was very young, was mad because I would not let him go visit his friend Tommy at 9 p.m. on a school night. He said, "Dad, you are the worst dad in the world." I learned to say, "You're right. And you're still not going to Tommy's house." "Oh, Dad." And again, I've chosen to let go of the rope of the tug of war. And when we choose to let go of the tug of rope war, when we choose to let go of the rope in tug of war, then we create a reversal. In other words, it takes two to fight, and I've decided not to fight. And that keeps me from being enmeshed and caught up with you. These are all reversals. They're deliberate, they're disappointments, and they occur within a relationship. I disappoint the expectations that I argue or defend or protect my ego. I don't have to do any of those things. I don't have to argue, I don't have to defend, I don't have to protect my ego. And the other person, in making their statement, is hoping I will do all those things to keep us enmeshed. Intentional disappointments bypass tension. In other words, here's a classic kind of reversal. Where are you going? And somebody says, out. They're neither saying something bad nor good. They're saying something true, but not answering the question, because they're bypassing the tension and the intention of the question. Somebody comes to me and says, "Did you know what your boss did yesterday?" And I can say, "Well, I'm sure it was crazy, but he's a good man." Someone comes to me and is raging against a third party, and I respond, "Well, that's funny. He speaks very highly of you." Again, a reversal. It's a disappointment within a relationship. We're not giving someone what they expect, and we're staying calm in the process. Self-differentiation is about bypassing and not absorbing the tension within relationship fields. Again, this tool can be used to maintain our self in place within relationships. Now, if used with malice, sarcasm, or anger, it will fall flat and can even be destructive. Richardson states, "A reversal can be dangerous. They are often used like blunt art instruments in the hands of enthusiastic people. In family systems realm, it's like seeing a child with a service revolver in its hands and an angry child who's been given the instrument as a means of evening the score with his parents. That's not a good way to use a reversal. This never works, and it does not provide self-differentiation. It's not a self-differentiating act. It only creates more enmeshment, because it's not what you say that's the power of it. It's where your emotional state is and what you're attempting to do. If we do an intentional disappointment out of anger, we are still stuck in the emotional field. As one author puts it, a reversal should be a means of making and setting a stage for a fresh encounter in the relationship. Remember, intentional disappointment is addressing the process and not often the content of the question, which is why somebody says, "Where are you going?" There's often a whole bunch that's not unpacked, that's behind that question. And when someone says out, they're bypassing all of the content and staying with the process of why the question is being asked. In preparation for using reversals, we need to prepare a disappointment and become okay and accept the disappointment, being not such a good son or a son who's not as good as Rick. I need to work on that and come to be okay with that. I need to deal with my illusions, myths, and beliefs surrounding this reversal, or truth as the other person sees it. Prepare for numerous reactions or reactivity. For example, well, you're just being sarcastic. No, Mom, I'm really not. I know I disappoint you and have for many years. But I've come to terms with this. And where does the spotlight then go? Off of me and back onto her with what she hasn't dealt with. And that's for her to deal with, not for me to deal with. One thing you'll want to do is practice your reversal with others that you trust. Gain self-acceptance and come to terms with others' expectations of you. For example, you have never been able or will never be able to fulfill their expectations and be yourself, and that this is okay. Oftentimes there are conflicting expectations. One is that I need to take care of my life. Second is I need to take care of your life. Well, that can come into conflict in a considerable way when we become adults. And also remember that the situation is hopeless but not serious. Give up your need for acceptance and approval within the relationship. It may in fact be hopeless. You may not be able to ever gain the acceptance of your parents or your family of origin. Who cares? The issue is when you become an adult, the need for that should be, we should grow past that because we're no longer children. It doesn't mean we don't want to be in a relationship with our parents or don't want to be in a relationship with our family. It's just the need for that is not essential for existence or for a happy life. It's different when you're a child. And just like the confused state, declaring of self, observing versus absorbing, the situation is hopeless but not serious. I'm staying out of it because I just can't handle it, to avoid triangles. And reversals, these intentional disappointments are helpful in blocking the push and pull from enmeshment in relationships. It is a self-differentiating move. If you want more help with self-differentiation and you want to learn how to grow up more within yourself, or more within your relationships, or more within your family of origin, or more in your marriage, contact me for an appointment. My contact information is on the screen, and I hope you'll please join our YouTube channel, Family Tree Counseling channel on YouTube. If you want more resources or you want a complete listing of over 100 videos I have on YouTube, I'd be happy to send them to you. Contact me via email, and I will send them to you free. I want to thank you today for watching, and have a great day.